My name is Charlie Moadi Batista, and I have here with me
Sabian Arazi.
And if you're looking for somewhere to talk movies, then you're in the right place, my friend, because this is episode 4 of the Bad Eggs Film Podcast, where we talk all things movies. You can find us on Instagram at badeggs.official or on YouTube at Sabian and Friends. Today we're going to be talking about the works of Denis Villeneuve to celebrate the release of Dune Part 2, which we saw today. But first, let's go ahead and talk about what we watched in the last week. You want to go first?
What did I watch? Oh, I forgot.
If you already forgot, I might as well start.
You start.
I saw The Raid Redemption.
Oh, we both saw that.
But we saw it separately. Damn, it's hot. I saw, the reason why I saw this movie is because we were doing our fight choreography. I went on YouTube. I looked up 2v1 fight movie. First result is brutal 2v1 fight movie scene. And I watch it and I'm like, dang, this looks awesome. And then before I finish it, I go in the description, it's from The Raid Redemption. And I'm like, bruh, because the video's from 12 years ago. Nowadays, it'd be all The Raid Final Fight. But now it's or back then it was just cool fight.
Yeah.
So that's a movie I've been planning on watching for years now.
There's even a top review on Letterboxd that says now that video makes sense on YouTube, which is called crazy
Really?
fight scene. Yeah.
Dang, I didn't even see that. But yeah, I mean, hold on, we gotta turn on this fan.
Alright.
I'm sweating. Ugh. But what I was saying was, well, here we go. Let me find a place to restart. Oh, yeah. What I was saying was, I've been planning on watching that movie for a long time, but, it wasn't on, my top tier priority list. I knew of its existence. I've wanted to see it. I figured, hey, if there's ever a day where I want to see a cool action movie, I'll choose this one. But now I had incentive to watch it because we were doing choreography and I wanted to see the rest of the movie before I watched, the climax of it on YouTube. So I saw it and I thought it was dope. I loved it. I actually really liked it. I saw it in my room, so it was pretty chill watch, casual watch, but yeah, I mean, at first I was damn, this movie's 100 minutes long. How are they going to do the same thing over and over again for 100 minutes? After, the first 20 minutes in. But then they kept just doing cool stuff that, kept me in. And, the whole movie's just fighting. Literally the whole movie. They got guns, they got knives, and you see all these people come in, and you see a lot of them die. And, honestly, the one thing I'd critique is, I wish there was a little more time in the beginning to, get to know the main character, because he's oh, he's got a wife, she's pregnant, that's all you need.
That's some Nolan level writing.
Yeah, Tenet, bro. Add wife or have woman, add child. But I mean, aside from that, I don't really care. You don't really need super strong characters. It probably would have elevated it a bit to have you more worried when he's about to die, but no, I mean, the whole movie's fighting. Let it show that off. You know what I'm saying? So, and that title card at the end, that was cool. That's all I gotta say about it.
Yeah, so, did I watch that, the day after you saw it?
Something like that. I think so. I don't know if you saw it that night.
I saw it then, the day after you came to my house, you were did you watch The Raid last night? I said, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess you did see it a day later.
Honestly, my opinions, I did not like that movie at all. I honestly did not. I found it immensely boring.
Boring?
I could not finish it.
You didn't finish it?
I didn't finish it.
You didn't finish the movie?
I had to turn it off 10 minutes before. I was dude, I need to feed my dogs. Like, I gotta do all this stuff. Like, I don't want to finish this. Let me just say, like, first of all, the action was all impressive. You know, I understand, like, I was, like, watching, I was like, this is some crazy action. It all looked good, too. Like, I wasn't, like, oh, I can see they had, like, the exploding packs of blood in their shirt. Like, I thought all of it looked really good. And I think that should be a high standard for how action looks now. Because, like, especially gunplay and, like, knife fight. And all the kills were creative. But it genuinely had no, like, structure to it. It was literally, it's like you said, it was just 100 minutes of fighting. And to me, that's so boring. It actually is like it's the same issues I had with the first 3 John Wicks. Oh. Where I was like, at the first 3 John Wicks, I think John Wick as a character is super good. That's probably why I was enjoying those movies more. But this is like John Wick without John Wick. It's just John Wick and these
the goons.
Just the goons, all of them fighting. And, like, yes, like, I didn't finish it. I went on my phone, like, during, like, the last 20 minutes, and I was like, you know what? I think I know what's going to happen, so...
Well, wait, at what point did you stop? By the way, listeners, forgot to mention at the beginning, spoilers for all these movies that we're about to talk.
That really helped.
Yep, sure did.
It was, like, around when the guy was tied up at the end.
Oh, right before the final fight? Like, he's, like, in the chains?
Wherever he was in the chains, I was like, I'm going to turn it off.
Bro, that was right before, like, the final fight.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I really... And I feel bad, because, like, I remember watching and being like, I wonder if Charlie thinks I would be liking this, because I don't.
Bro, that's crazy, because, like, the thing that I like about it, and the thing that I also like about the John Wick movies, too, is that, like, they're fighting, right? But, like I said at the beginning, like, oh, how long is this going to be interesting for? But there's always something interesting. Like the scene where they're hiding in the wall.
No, I actually liked that scene. That was the first scene I was like, all right, this is pretty good.
And then the part where there's like the hole like in the ground that leads to the level below, and then like they start doing something. Bro, that was awesome. And like the dude who like there's like the broken door, and then he gets his neck cut on it. That was sick.
So you're mentioning these tiny bits that I did like.
The narcotics lab fight that was like mostly hand to hand, because before that you're just seeing a bunch of gun and knife fighting, but then this is like you know, actually wait no, I'm pretty sure the what's his name, Jaka versus Mad Dog fight was before that, but you have that fight plus the lab fight that are both mostly hand to hand. That's all crazy. My only critique with the fight choreography, I'd say, and this isn't even something that I noticed while watching the movie. This is something that I noticed after I was cutting up the bits like that we could use from going through the fights. And it was like during the 2v1 fight at the end, I didn't notice this while watching it, but while I was cutting it up, they redo like the same move like 3 times, where one of the guys will fall over and then the other guy will push like Mad Dog over him, and Mad Dog will trip back like over the guy's fallen body. They do that like 3 or 4 times.
You're a big fan of that.
I thought that was hilarious, like looking back on it, and like the fact that I didn't even notice while watching it. But like, damn. And you missed like that cool title card at the end.
Well, no, I did see the title card because like I didn't like turn it off. I skipped to the end.
You skipped to the end?
I skipped to when the credits would start, so I could be all like, okay, I saw. You know, the title card at the beginning I thought was cooler though.
I mean, yeah, that was a really good title card at the beginning.
I don't know, it's just, for me, and my sister, like, she complains about action movies. She says, I don't like when people are just fighting. Like, it's boring. What are they fighting about? And I used to think, like, well, that's not true, because I would think of Mission Impossible Fallout, and I think of the bathroom fight and how I love that fight. But that fight carries a lot of weight to the plot. Like, so much stuff happens because of that fight. But if you have the craziest fight scene in the world that honestly just means nothing, and I don't care about anyone in this fight, I actually don't care. It's the same as me watching a YouTube clip of it. Like, it's actually the same.
Well, what would you say? I mean, okay, let me think of some other movies that are mostly, like, action fighting. Like, okay, Mad Max Fury Road has, like,
I knew you were about to say that.
There's a big, like, story to it that's going on, but that honestly takes a big backseat to the action and like the car chase and stuff.
That's a part of the reason I think I might have just given it 4 stars. You know, I gave it like 4 stars. Like, I think it's good, but you know, the plot isn't all the way there for me, and just watching pure action is not that entertaining.
You know, as a very, very passionate, strong enthusiast of the action genre, nothing tickles my nerves more than just like watching how fighting can like change over like the course of a movie. How you can have the same guy fight a bunch of people 100 different times, but like seeing different ways on how it's done, and it still be entertaining for me at least. I think this movie was a prime example.
I think like the only comparable movie is John Wick 4, but I like John Wick 4 because understanding the plot, knowing that he just goes through all these guys because he needs to be somewhere, I find that entertaining. And even then, I think John Wick 4's fighting takes too long. There's always a point in that movie where I'm like, geez, man, he's fighting more guys.
Damn. See, I don't get tired of that.
I don't know. I know, like, a lot of people agree with me. Like, I've seen a lot of reviews on The Raid on Letterboxd. They were, like, saying the stuff I was saying. I was like, okay, so there are people who understand what I'm saying.
They just fight and fight and fight.
They just fight and fight, and I don't care.
See, for some people, though, like me, it's just my cup of tea. Like, that's what I like to see. I like to see people fight and fight and fight. And sure, if it was just punch, kick, like over and over again, like I get pretty bored. But like, what does it for me is like how creative they get with it, and like knowing the commitment to the movement and all of that is nuts to me. I would give The Raid a 4.5 out of 5.
I would give it a generous 2.5.
All right. So after that, the same day that I saw The Raid, I saw Dune Part 1 and Part 2, but we're going to save that for the end. So after Dune Part 2, we watched The American Society of Magical Negroes. That movie, I want to know what you thought of it first. Because
really?
The whole time that I was watching it, I was very curious.
I love that movie.
I knew it. I literally knew it, bro.
I literally thought it was so good. Because, like, one, like, the whole romance plot, I just thought it was great, you know? I could really buy these two characters, you know, and their relationship and how they liked each other. The whole sequence where they were, like, taking a walk and they were talking, that was a long scene.
I like that part.
I like that. And then the ending, you know, I like the way it wrapped up with them. So, like, for the romance side of things, I thought it was fantastic.
Honestly, right? I don't know how you could be praising, like, the romance in that movie and then proceed to call the before trilogy the mid trilogy.
Because I haven't seen it.
Tripping.
Okay, but...
You're like, oh, yeah, this long scene where they're just walking and talking. That's, like, all three of those movies. That's, like, 4 hours of that.
So, yeah, but... Besides that, I think the actual plot was hilarious. Like, it's obviously, like, silly, you know? And I actually think that in the end, and this is something that Larissa said, but, like, it actually had a message for everyone watching, you know? Like, because obviously the whole thing is directed towards black people, you know? Because it's, like, it's funny how, like, they have a whole society dedicated to making white people comfortable. You know, like, that's all funny and stuff, and it also carries like some actual weight behind it. But in the end, after the main character does this whole monologue, which was super powerful, you know, like I could feel his anger. I was like, dang, this guy's really mad and he's serious, right? But in the end, like the whole message being like, you know, like you shouldn't live your life for someone else. Like you should be allowed to exist and be happy to exist without needing to do stuff for other people just because like that's who you're meant to be. Like, it's a message for everyone to take home. And I think
that actually reminds me of something else that I saw, but like,
but yeah,
I gotta remember that.
You know, I thought it was great, and I also loved the ending, like the little tease at the end with the
of course you did, bro.
Boy, I was like, oh, that's so clever and like funny. I didn't expect it. I didn't.
Crazy how we're only on episode 4 of this show, and this is the second time we got a white guy schooling me on first American fiction, and now this.
Well, yeah, I loved it. No, what did you think?
Now, the thing about Magical Negroes here is like, okay, I actually really like how it opens with the text on screen talking about the definition of the magical Negro trope in movies and television. I actually already knew about that before going into the movie because it's a very common thing. But, and you already heard me say my opinion on this when we saw it, my main issue is how separated the A plot and the B plot of the movie feel from each other, or segregated, if you will. Because like we got we got the whole he joins the society and he has his goal and he's doing this and that, and the premise where he's doing that and then it gets tied in with his love life because the guy he's taking care of is also interested in the same girl. That sounds like it should be intertwined nicely, but it feels so connected from his romance with this girl because you're so like you see a scene where he's with the society and he's going over dealing with white tears, and then you see the next scene where he's talking to this girl and whatnot, but you spend like such divided pieces of times in these different plots that I get whiplash going back and forth. Like after his nice romantic scenes with Lizzie, I would genuinely be like, and when you come back to the American society, I would like be like, how am I watching the same movie right now? Like this is a plot where these two things should very much be connected to each other because the romance is integral to the fantasy aspect and the fantasy aspect is integral to the romance aspect. Mm-hmm. They should very clearly, one affects the other, like because when he's interested in his girl, it negatively affects that, and when he's trying to do that, it negatively affects his interest. So why did it feel so separate? It literally felt like I was watching two different movies at once, and then also, again, with the whole message of the movie at the end, his big monologue at the end, I was liking that, but then they also tried throwing in this comedy during it, and none of the comedy in the movie honestly sat well with me. There were a couple like haha white people jokes here and there, but like for the most part, like none of the jokes really landed with me. So when he's having this big moment where he's talking about when he finally, stands up for himself and whatnot, and then meanwhile we got like the CEO of their fake social media enterprise like bumbling around acting silly, like, it really demonstrates the issue I have with a lot of these satires about black people with these days, where, you have a message that you're trying to put forward, but it's so diluted down by all this goofy nonsense. It feels watered down because I'm trying to listen to what he has to say, right? And his message isn't even that deep either. It's a pretty digestible message for like anybody watching this movie. Like you could be a privileged white guy and watch it and like, get down with it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, I wouldn't say like that he was saying a message. I would say that was his character like finally coming out. Because his whole movie, he built up being, like, this super nice guy, and he's like, oh, I'm too nice all the time. And, like, that whole, like, it was, like, half message, half, like, character
his development. Yeah. That's good. But, like, when I want to see that, I don't want to have to be distracted by other stuff that's going on.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of, like, the jokes interspliced, and, like, it was cutting back, like, every few seconds.
Yeah, and, like, I actually, like, was having to, like, consciously direct my focus to what he was saying. And I will say, like, a lot of the stuff he said, like, I found pretty relatable. You know what I'm saying? Like, I actually was like, dang, yeah, I could get down with this. Again, it's a very digestible message, right? Like, when it comes to the stuff that it's telling the audience, like the themes and morals, like, it's very digestible. It's not something that's gonna, that's divisive for people to understand. It's very surface level, But for what it is, I was enjoying it. I was enjoying listening to him, right? Ideally, I prefer something that gets a little more deeper than that, maybe learn, like, exactly. I'd want to see, because you have this moment in the beginning where white people are a threat to him, and that's what gets him brought into the whole society. I would have wanted to see, another example. He's always talking about, like, oh, my whole life, I'm always having to make white people comfortable and whatnot, and I'm like, okay, like, show me that, and I want to see, like, these guys face their consequences and see how he struggles with it and whatnot. I'm not getting much of that. Also, we barely learn anything about him as well. Like, he mentions he has a white mom. That's it.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. He says he likes art and he makes yarn stuff. You see it at the very beginning, and it's kind of dropped as he does all this, and at the end he's like, maybe I'll do that again. And it's like, come on. And then my other thing is, like, Lizzie's character, she was neat she was all right, but again, she didn't feel very dimensional. You know, she was pretty like one note, pretty 2D, kind of mostly there just to propel his story forward. And then, you know, they do the thing at the end, oh, she's in her own society of wives and girlfriends. And it's like, okay, but really though, like,
what do you mean?
That the whole movie, like, they do that at the end to kind of be all like, yeah, you know, she's her own character too, but I don't believe that she's her own character outside of these guys' lives in the movie either. She just kind of pops in and out to stir conflict.
Isn't that like a part of her society then? Wouldn't you think that?
I mean, maybe, but that sounds like way too much of like a you know, whiteout solution to actually giving us a character that I'm interested in. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I don't know.
I like their talk in the park a lot. You know, because when they talk in the park and they, you know, he's talking about his different struggles and whatnot, I was fully there. I was immersed and sucked in. And then, you know, when he's having his monologue at the end, I was digging a lot of that. You know, I was like, okay, yeah, he's saying some facts right now, speaking from experience. But, like, ultimately, I don't know. I wish it did more for me. I didn't hate it, though. I definitely didn't think it was bad. I just think it was, like, fine. You know, and like, I guess, I mean, between movies like this and American Fiction, it's a step in the right direction for making more satires for black people to connect to that, like, kind of speak a message. But again, I still think the messages it's conveying are like way too like shallow, you know, and diluted down by other stuff to make it more digestible for white people and to sell more tickets in the end. Because if they actually try doing something that's a little more radical or anything, they're not going to get any butts to seats. I would give it 3 out of 5.
I'd give it 4 out of 5. But it's a strong 4.
All right. The same day we saw the American Society of Magical Negroes, we saw Kung Fu Panda 4. Boy, oh boy.
Jeez. That, I don't know, it's kind of mid.
Yeah.
Right?
It's the same thing as Migration, where it's every single thing in that movie I've seen somewhere else. And I haven't even seen the other Kung Fu Panda movies. Kung Fu Panda was the first movie I ever saw in theaters, and I pooped my pants and had to leave. Wow. I was crying so much because I was scared. But, like, yeah.
Man, it was just, like, so, like, generic and, you know, what's his name? Shafillas.
Oh, Shea Frilla's Productions.
His review on that, I think, like, really summed it up well. I can't exactly remember, but he said that, like, it felt like a Kung Fu Panda movie, like, on autopilot.
Yeah, and facts.
Like, it felt like the premise felt, like, better for, like, a TV, like,
that's what
thing.
It felt like. While I was watching it, like, I was like, was this supposed to be straight to streaming or something?
It literally felt like that.
And also, like, it just felt like a little, like, fun adventure with Poe. And he does this. And also, it's so stupid. Bro, I hate Awkwafina. I hate her. And this is the movie where, honestly, I hated her least. And she was still, I hated her, bro. There's just, like we've seen it all before, man. The Fox character who's a thief, Zootopia. Everything else, man.
2 characters walking into a bar full of tough, scary people.
God. The SpongeBob movie.
Sonic
2.
Happened in Sonic 2 only, I think.
Oh.
Well, the SpongeBob movie
did it best.
That was where I first saw that, and I was like, that's so funny.
Yeah, man, everyone just took notes. Honestly, like, one could even say that Kung Fu Panda 4 suffers the same power that its villain holds, in that the chameleon only takes powers from all the past villains instead of having any of her own.
Did you just come up with that?
I did. I came up with it like 2 hours ago. Just like how Kung Fu Panda 4 takes all its attributes from other movies from the past.
Yeah, the chameleon, like, that was such a boring villain.
Bro,
the only, like, thing she did like during the whole like first half to show that she was evil was like push
a
someone
guy
down the stairs. That was it. Like that's it. And I was like, okay, like
be scary, bro. Everyone's like, oh, it's the chameleon. Okay.
And like, what is it?
Lizard.
And like, I don't know. I think her motivation was like, it was literally just to take over, and I feel like that's just a boring premise. Like, can't do anything special, and just be all like, "Yep, they're evil because they're evil."
They're evil. She wants to take over the Valley of the Peace.
Yes. And then like it was boring. And at the end, dude, I thought it was so stupid in the ending when Poe was trapped in that cage, and then when Awkwafina's character, you know, delivers the final blow or whatever, that Poe just is magically out of the cage, and then Awkwafina's character is like, "Oh, you could have gotten out of there the whole time," and he was like, "Yeah, but I did it, you know, to show you." Like
that you're powerful.
That's so stupid.
Lazy. It's
that's actually stupid.
Lazy writing. Also, like, Poe is so lame in this movie. He didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like he was like a couple wapows here and there, but like that was just kind of to be all like, see, like he still was like good from the last couple movies, but like, no, he wasn't. He didn't do anything.
I don't remember the last movies, but I remember watching the third one in theaters, and like I'm pretty sure Poe was pretty powerful.
Not in this one.
They just dumbed him down.
The movie wasn't funny at all. Was there any good jokes?
There was one good joke. It was like when their dads like went up to the Pelican and was like, "Have you seen Poe?" And then the Pelican screamed and they're like, "Why'd they go?" He said, "Yes."
Yeah, that was.
I thought that was kind of funny.
That was funny. That was the only time I laughed.
I liked when he said, "I'm Kung Fu Panda 4."
Yeah, he says, "I'm the Kung Fu Panda," and then it crash zooms on his face, and there's just music. He should have said 4 there. That would have been hilarious. Also, speaking of the dads, though, like, I hated that whole subplot.
Really?
It was so boring. Like, every time they cut to that, like, I was like, can we please just go back to, like, the mediocre stuff instead of this garbage? Like,
that's funny because, Scraphilis, what's his name?
Shea Frillis.
He was saying that, like, he wished the whole movie was just focused on them because he was so uninterested in the main plot. He thought that they were funny.
I thought both of them were trash, but, like, every time they cut to that, I was like, this isn't even important to the story, so I really don't care. Like, all they do is just, like, kind of help out at the end, kind of, but, like, the whole time I was watching, I was like, what is the purpose? Like, they're just trying to go to him, and, like, I know it's going to be for some reason at the end, but, like, in the present moment of me watching this, it's completely useless, and I don't care. And also, like, what was it? That also reminds me, Luca. It's the same thing as Luca. Remember that? How he's, like, in the town, right? And then, meanwhile, there's a subplot of his parents who are, like, fish people going after him. Literally copying that as well. And that movie wasn't even good.
Now let's talk about the credits scene with the Furious Five.
Oh my god, bro. Yeah, to top it all off.
You know, I saw this tweet that was like, oh, the Furious Five was a last minute addition.
Furious Fries.
Yeah, to the movie. And I was like, oh, that's a huge spoiler because I was assuming that they'd all come back together to fight in the end. Right? And I was like, dang, that's kind of crazy because, like, I don't remember seeing them in the marketing. But all of it was just for this random credit sequence, and none of the voice actors were back. It was just...
They don't say anything.
It's so pointless. Like, I don't care.
They think that anyone who knew what the Furious Five was... Because this movie is made for little kids. It's actually made for little kids, right? Little kids who probably weren't even alive when the last Kung Fu Panda came out. They're not going to watch Kung Fu Panda 4 and be like, oh my god, the Furious Five are back. Because they weren't alive, you know.
Yeah.
So, really, that's aimed towards people who like the other movies who are probably older now. And even they are going to see right through it because they know that they clearly couldn't get the actors back because of their silent cameos where they're literally doing nothing.
I think they should have left this franchise. Like, they ended it at 3, and that's a fine trilogy. And if they are going to bring it back, they need to do something different. They need to think, like, okay, the people who love these movies, they're older now, and they need to change things up. It literally...
But the thing is, the other Kung Fu Panda movies, this is based on, like, what little I know about them. But they were also supposedly aimed towards older audiences as well. Like, people who are young and old can enjoy them. Like, everyone can find something. I believe that the other Kung Fu Panda movies were able to have stuff that aimed at both audiences because other movies that came out at that time, like Pixar did that. And it's easy to believe that, you know, other animation from this time from big studios like DreamWorks were capable of doing the same thing, right? This movie just was not that. Also, speaking of DreamWorks, I hate their new studio intro logo.
Really?
I hate it, bro. I miss the old.
I think it's alright.
I don't mean to sound like some stupid geezer, like back in my day, but I really miss the old look.
What was the old one?
It was just the kid on the moon.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think
it felt warm and fuzzy. Now it's like, look, it's Shrek the bad guys. I'm like, bro.
I don't like the bad guys. But yeah, I'd give it like 2.5 or 3.
Honestly, like bad animated movie after bad animated movie. I'm giving this one like a generous 2 stars. Cause like I'm tired.
I think it was like just at least just watchable. Like I wasn't like wishing I was home.
I wouldn't ever watch it again though. That's the thing.
I definitely would never want to watch it again.
And like I was glad I was watching it because I like watching movies, but I was not entertained by it at all. Like, I'm genuinely so tired of these bad animated kids movies. Because, like I never feel like I'm watching anything new. They can reskin them all they want. Look, they're ducks. Now it's a panda. Now it's whatever the last trash that came out was. Like, oh, no, they're, like, and it's the same story over and over again. Like, come on, give me something new. Anyway. Day after that.
Wait. What'd you want to watch? What'd you say you watched?
I'll say that last because I was watching that like before you came here.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, yesterday we saw Snack Shack.
Shake Shack.
Shickety Shack. Honestly, I'm curious to know what you thought of that one because like you were particularly excited for that.
I was excited because I saw the trailer and I thought it looked really great. And yeah, I thought it was great. I thoroughly liked it. Maybe not as much as I was expecting to, but not gonna put that on the movie. Always drawing
just on your expectations.
Yeah, but I did like it. You know, I like the plot. I love the characters. Who's the kid who played like Fableman?
Gabriel Bell.
He's so good.
I love
I want him to be in so many more movies.
He is like my favorite young up and coming actor right now. He is actually my favorite. I love Sammy Fableman. I love Moose. I love that guy.
Yeah, he's so good.
And I wasn't expecting. He's got some muscle on him. You know,
he's kind of built.
He's kind of built. I like that. That just makes me like him even more.
But yeah, he was so funny. Like literally, like everything he said was hilarious. Obviously, you know, the whole plot with the girl. I liked that all. It wasn't entirely what I thought it would be. It was more like a triangle, and I thought it would be like just 1-on-1 with the other kid, like helping. That's what I thought it was gonna do. But I liked the triangle thing. I thought it was interesting.
A love triangle.
Yeah, and the ending got pretty emotional. Besides the fact that we were laughing so hard.
Yeah, I thought of something funny.
Yeah, I ruined the ending because I was.
I didn't even realize that was like the very ending either.
No, I mean I knew it was the ending.
I knew it was coming up. Like I knew that it was like maybe the second to last scene.
No, it was literally the last scine.
Yeah, pretty much.
We start dying of laughter because I hear you chuckle, and then I think laughing is so funny that it's an endless cycle.
I was in my head. But, like, you know what I'm saying?
Whatever. Yeah. The only issues I have, one is honestly an arching like issue with the dialogue. The way they speak, like it kind of bothers me sometimes.
Yeah, it's just like a whole lot of like. Come here, piss boy! Like,
it felt.
Bro, I wanted to blow my brains out every time she called him shit pig. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah,
bro.
She said that way too much. But like, I don't know, the dialogue, it felt super, super unrealistic. I think it started because I mean, I like unique dialogue, you know, because obviously I wouldn't prefer that they all speak like how we do. You know, I like that they're throwing in these interesting words and stuff. but it becomes more to a point where I can just tell like they're reading the script. They're not actually talking like that. You know, Mr. Fableman, he has a specific line, like when they're in the shack, that I remember and being like, come on, like, who would actually say that?
What was it?
He was like, well, just like, you know, scrub the vermin poop and like, I'll be back in a flash. Like, and I was like, bro, like, who's talking like that?
Yeah, no, I think my biggest issue definitely was the girls' dialogue. Have you seen those TikToks that are like, have you seen those TikToks? Gimme! There we go. Another one. Come here! So have you seen those TikToks that are like of like Megan Fox and like the Michael Bay movies are like every girl who's like different from the rest, and like it's just very male gazy, and she's always got like a rag over her shoulder, and she's like hey, hey Quincy. I think that's what like she like the girl who makes those TikToks calls like the fake guy and goes, hey Quincy, you know, this and that and that. Anyway, last one to the arcade machine is a rotten egg. Oh,
bro, I saw that.
Yeah, that's exactly what she was like. And I thought we were past those, like, when it comes to movies, but apparently not.
I mean, I guess, like, the whole, like, 90s aesthetic brought that back on purpose.
I mean, yeah, but either way, that didn't change the fact that, like, I thought she was pretty poorly written. Like, that just seemed like, you know, the type of, like, yeah, she's not like the girl. She's one of the boys, and like, oh yeah, and she's hot, you know, like, yeah, she's got, damn. All right. Yeah, but she's like, yeah, and she's not even like the boys, and she's hot. She's got these big old hungry. Oh, look at her butt, and then she like, it's like, all right, you know, like, I wanted her to be interesting, you know. I like personality, man.
Yeah, I didn't like when, like, Mr. Fableman would call her a chick. Don't be calling women that.
I mean, that's just like that's my issue with just regular lingo. I wouldn't even put that on the movie. I just get annoyed when people say chick anyway. I'm like, bro, do you actually talk like that, or are you just saying that? Like, every time I've heard someone in real life call someone a chick, it sounds so forced. It's like, yo, who's that chick over there?
It's weird. I like the scene where him and the brother, the older one? Shane,
I think that was just their friend.
Their friend. I like when he was like, you want some advice? Like, just make a move. Because I've been told that.
Yeah, man. I liked moments like that. I liked Shane as well. I liked the movie. I liked the movie a lot. And I really love, I mean, you'd expect like movies that take place in the 90s and stuff to be like nostalgia bait, like, you're back in the day when everything was better. Oh man, don't you miss that? But like, what I like about a lot of these movies that take place, like these period piece movies that are also coming of age movies, is that they feel like, you know, stuff out of the director's personal diary, stuff that they actually went through while they were growing up, and it's like fun to see that kind of stuff. And I did see in an interview that the director based a lot of stuff that happened in this movie on stuff that he used to do when he was a kid in Nebraska in 1991. Like the scene where they're hiding behind the movie theater screen, I thought was great because I genuinely felt like something that he went through. And like, it's kind of like how like the whole Licorice Pizza like reverse truck rolling up. That's the type of stuff that you can only really write like after having gone through it. And I think stuff like that is a lot of fun to watch. And it also, even though that was before our time, it does a good job at like, you know, making you remember like, oh, I remember when I was a little rascal in my youth and stuff. And I think that feeling is really fun to get out of a movie. It's very specific, and I like when movies like that come around. But again, man, that girl's annoying. That movie had a lot of cliches in it, and I feel like a lot of them hit like the right notes with me. Like, even though like a lot of these things were cliches, again, like, you know, spoilers, when like Shane died and whatever, I was like, yeah, you know, that seems like the type of thing that happens. And she's like, oh, I'm moving away as well. These are all very cliche things, but they still hit the right notes with me. Like, this is like the type of setting that I'd like to see these cliches in. Damn, I thought it was messed up though. Like right before he found out his friend died, like he was about to have sex and his dad interrupted. Like his dad saw what was about to happen. Like let him get his nut. Let him get his first nut first before like dropping this on him. Like he could wait like the 30 seconds that it take. You know what I'm saying? But whatever. I guess.
Yeah, I'd give it 4 stars.
I'd also give it 4 stars. You know what that means though?
What?
You gave it 4 stars, you gotta uphold what you said.
What did I say?
You gotta F out, bro.
Yeah, that's getting bleeped out.
Anyway, before we get into our Dune discussion, I wanted to say how just now, and like for the past like week or so, I've been watching Neon Genesis Evangelion, which is a TV show, an anime from the 90s. And I'm watching it because on Wednesday, they're playing the movie in theaters, so I'm catching up. So far it's really good. There's a lot of like influence from that show that is on like newer stuff that's not even like that new from that. Like I literally just saw an episode where there's like, because like the whole show, like there's these giant like Pacific Rim robots and they're fighting off these things, but I saw this one episode where they're literally like this giant robot that's fighting an Eva that's fighting like something, and it's on like warships at sea, and I was like, bro, Godzilla vs. Kong copied this. But that was pretty cool. And the thing that I want to say that was related to American Society of Magical Negroes was the whole like how he's like a people pleaser and how he's like just doing stuff early on in an episode. The main character, he's just kind of like obliging with like all the stuff that's being told to him, and like another character like points that out to someone else. They're like, you notice how he ever like is just constantly doing what everyone like tells him to do? And then the other character's like, yeah, it's because like it just makes his life easier if he just like agrees to everything. And I'm curious to know where that goes, like with his character, see like how he develops and whatever. But
interesting.
We'll see. Anyway, Dune Part
Let's
1.
talk about Part 1 of Dune.
This was my 3rd time seeing Dune Part 1.
It was also my 3rd time.
My first 2 times were in IMAX.
Oh, my first 2 times were in IMAX.
No way. My first time was in IMAX opening night. My second time was in the IMAX re-release.
That was me too. So yeah.
But I didn't see it with you the 3rd time.
Yeah, we saw it at our houses. But I'll say what when I first saw Dune, like for the first time, I was a little confused by the end. I had a hard time like understanding what was going on. Second time I understood a little more, but third time I watched, I understood everything, like every piece of dialogue ever. I don't know if I should be thanking like maybe the subtitles I had on.
Oh, I didn't have subtitles.
I put subtitles because one, I have a fan in my room that like kind of makes it hard to hear, that I need on at all times, and two, like I just in general like I can't really play movies that loud from my room, so it's at a good volume, but to have subtitles I can actually read every line of dialogue. But man, like I understood everything with like Arrakis and like the plot and what it was leading to and like why every scene was there. Like remember the whole scene where they visit the sand collector and the worm comes for the first time and they have to evacuate all those people?
Oh yeah, the spice harvester.
That, I remember when I would see that in IMAX, I'd be like, this is cool, but why are they here, right? Like I genuinely was just like, why are they here? But when I watched it, I was like, dude, I understand why they're there. They're going to check on the spice harvester, and when it breaks, Oscar Isaac's all like, look at this equipment they left us. Like, it's horrible. And I was like, man, like, I really understand.
I remember when I was watching that, I think it's so funny how like they're like, yes, and here we have our spice harvesters and stuff, and it breaks on them, and it's like, damn, bro, imagine like you're showing like the new like what like Duke, the new Duke, like you're touring him around the place that he's leading, and like it just is bunk the one time that he goes to check it out. I'm like, damn, that's unlucky, girl.
Yeah, but besides that, I mean, honestly, like, that's the most I've ever enjoyed watching that movie.
Honestly, I didn't have subtitles on, and I considered turning them on in the beginning, but like I didn't, and I also still like understood everything more. The whole movie's pretty much setting up like an invasion attack from the Harkonnen, onto the Atreides, the House of Atreides, once they land on Arrakis. Like, they're sent there by the Emperor, who tells the Herald to send them there. And it's just a big setup. And, you know, you don't really get into the motives why the Emperor... Yeah, she's just reverse sneezing. There, you okay? Oh, she's good now. Anyway, you don't really get into why the Emperor did that in the first movie, which is why I was also excited to see the second movie and find out why he was doing that and who the Emperor was. Because while I was watching the first movie, they were talking about the Emperor this, the Emperor that, you know, he's sending them over here. You never even see him.
I was like, it's Christopher Walken.
Yeah, and then it wasn't until like after the first act of the movie, or like after one of the first few times that they mentioned the Emperor, that I was like, wait, the Emperor of the universe. Damn. So, like, yeah. I knew that I was about to see part 2, so I was hyped for that.
Yeah, and a lot of people complain with part 1 that it's a lot of setup for part 2. I actually disagree. I think that, like, while it is setting up part 2, I feel like by the end, I'm super satisfied with what I saw. Like, I think I saw, like, a complete story. You know, they went there, they got invaded, their family split up, and I think it ends on a point where, like, I'm so excited to come next, what's, like, about to come next, but I'm not, like, oh, man, like, that was all just build-up. I think I was like, wow, that was a great movie. I want to see what's next. Like,
I agree.
I don't think that, like, it was just mainly set up and, like, unsatisfying.
Yeah, I love Dune Part 1. And, like, the way that it's structured is so interesting. Does it even follow a 3-act structure when you look at it? Because it really doesn't. Like you have this whole climax of the House of Atreides getting invaded, and that's like in the middle of the movie.
Yeah.
You know, I remember I had to pause the movie for a second, like shortly after that happened, and I saw that there was an hour left, meaning I'd seen an hour and a half, and like that was already a few scenes after that ended. So that part is literally like halfway through the movie, and the rest of the movie is kind of just like Paul and Lady Jessica like on the run, and then they join the Fremen at the very end, and the real, I guess, climax of the movie is him fighting Jamis at the end and becoming a part of
you wouldn't consider that the climax.
That's not really a climax, but I also do remember the very first time I saw that, I knew that was the last action scene that I was about to see before the movie ended. And really love that, because I could tell because I could see this is like the movie isn't ending with a big climactic battle. It's ending with Paul starting his own new journey. You know, and that was him transitioning into that. So this whole movie is really about Paul, because at the beginning, Leto is talking about, hey, you know, you're going to be the Duke of Arrakis, or the Duke of Arrakis, House Atreides, next guy. And Paul's like, I don't know if that's what I want to do. And Duke's like, all right, that's cool. But then he's called to action after Leto dies, and he still doesn't know how to deal with the crumbling empire that he was left after they've been invaded. And he decides, you know what? My dad did wind and sea power. I'm going for desert power, baby. And that is such a satisfying ending for me. And, like, it gets me so hyped for part 2 after seeing it.
Yeah. You know, I remember when I first saw the movie, like, for some reason, I don't know why I thought this, but the cut to black at the end came out of nowhere for me. I was like, oh, it ended. Like, I don't know why I didn't see it coming. The music builds up. Like, obviously, it's about to cut to black. I don't know. I feel like
Denis... You see them walking towards their destiny.
Yeah, I think Denis Villeneuve has interesting spots to cut to black. I mean, they're all good, but it's different from any other director I've seen. They're all just people. Like, doing normal things.
See, no, but I really love the last shot of Dune Part 1. If I were to complain about it, I don't know, maybe I wish they were kind of to the right a little bit, because they're pretty center frame. But, like, no, I mean, what I like about that shot is that you see their backs and you see that they're walking towards something else, and you know that a new journey's about to begin for these characters, and they're kind of venturing into the unknown. It's powerful because you see the community, you see the group of people right before you see Ride in the Sandworms, and it's like, damn, that's dope. Are these guys gonna do that? Like, is Paul gonna learn how to do that?
I remember when I first saw it, I was like, yo, they're writing it, but I know you were
I had that spoiled stupid Letterboxd review, didn't consider that a spoiler, even though it's like the third or fourth to last shot of the movie.
Yeah.
It's in the last
and it's a
minute
big, it's
of
a
the
big
movie.
reveal, too.
Yeah. They're like, you know, you see the sandworms, you can't even imagine riding that thing. And also, I remember the first time I saw it, I didn't know when they would ride it. So every time they encountered a sandworm, I was like, are they about to ride it? Are they about to ride it? Are they about to ride it? And then I was like, now they're gonna ride it. Now they're gonna ride. Like one of them like looks at them when they're like on the rocks. I thought they were gonna start riding it there. I remember thinking that like Jason Momoa would pull up riding one. I don't even know. But like, yeah, that spoiled it for me. That was stupid.
But yeah, honestly, Dune Part 1 is an easy 5-star.
Honestly,
I think it's so incredible.
I remember I was really on the fence the first and second time I saw it, between 4.5 and 5, because I also didn't think that it felt like a complete story. But watching it the third time, I was like, yeah, no, like I am satisfied watching all of this. I like how it builds up to it. It's literally about this kid who moves.
Yep. That's what happens.
And like, you know, by the end of the movie, his arc is like, not that his arc is complete, because after seeing part 2, like, you know that there's a lot more for him to go through. But part 1 on its own, his arc for that movie is complete in that he knows what he's gonna do next and he goes out to do it. And that, like, I think is 5-star worthy. Like, damn.
Yep.
The movie goes hard.
Now let's talk about part 2. What'd you think?
So, obviously, I went in with pretty high expectations because everyone was sucking this movie's nuts like crazy.
Yeah, they were giving it masterpiece after masterpiece.
They were riding this movie's Shai Hulud hard. Come on. Shai Hulud, like sandworm.
Oh.
Like my Shai Hulud.
Okay.
That's a good one. Anyway, yeah, so like I went with pretty big expectations. Everyone's saying it was better than the first one, right? And of course, I can never blame my expectations for whether or not I like a movie or not. And honestly, like I kind of just, at some point during the movie, I just threw my expectations out the window and just started like just watching it and just enjoying it. And like, again, I've been doing this with like every movie I watch, where like that little letterboxd like voice in my head is like, what do I rate this? What do I rate this? And then I was like, stop, think about anything else. It's the hardest thing ever to do. And then I just go back into focusing on the movie. Like, all the movies that we talked about that we saw this week, that happened in my head, and I literally did not even think of a rating until after. I didn't even think of what I was going to rate American Society of Magical Negroes until I was about to say it just now. You know?
Interesting.
And like, same thing with like Snack Shack and all those. But with Dune Part 2, let me start with what I really liked.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Timothée Chalamet's performance throughout the whole thing. And it's not just because he's yelling and acting crazy. It's because, like, he's actually such a force of nature in this movie. Paul literally becomes something else. The Paul from Dune Part 1 is a foreign character from this character in Part 2. Like, he is the Lisan al-Gaib, Moadib, the Duke of Arrakis. And, like, bro, he is crazy. He's hopped up on spice. I loved hearing him scream and act all crazy. I think the action in this movie was also way better than the first one. There's more action to be had, but it's also, like, carries way more weight. Like, yeah, in the first one we see Arrakis, or we see House Atreides crumble, but in this one, like, it's pretty brutal. Like, I get annoyed when people are like, oh, this movie rides the PG-13 rating pretty hard. And people say about Guardians 3, I'm like, shut up, man, like, you're tripping. But, like, this movie, you know, from what you'd come to expect from a PG-13 blockbuster, actually, like, was pretty gruesome and, like, pretty brutal. I was like, damn, like, you know, Denis knew how to work with that rating pretty well. I'm not saying that it should have been R. I'm just saying, for a PG-13 movie, it used that rating.
If you ask me, it should have been PG.
To its fullest potential. I remember, though, that kid who was like, who we saw before, is like, oh, maybe we'll watch the same movie in the concession. That little kid.
I thought that was funny.
Bro, during the beginning, I was like when the people were falling off the cliff, I was like, hell nah, bro. And then when Fade Routha comes in, dude, I think Austin Butler's so annoying, but, like, I really liked him in this movie. I thought he was great. I'm excited, like, for Florence Pugh even to do more stuff. Like, I forgot she was in it because the stacked cast, but then when I saw in the beginning how it opens with her, I thought that was really interesting, and how she has more stuff going into the end. I liked how Zendaya had more to do as Chani. I liked looking at everything to do with the Fremen. I will say, this movie felt so long to me. Like, I've seen longer movies that felt shorter than this one. I don't know why. I was fully into it, but, like, the whole time, that runtime was felt. I was like, damn, this is long.
Honestly, I didn't think it felt long at all, actually. Like, I mean, I remember, you know, I was able to actually really tell where we were in the movie. Like, when we entered, like, that whole war scene, I was like, okay, this is definitely, like, third act, like, entering. And when we were doing, like, the final knife fight, I was like, this is, like, the last scene.
Yeah, I knew that as well there.
But, like, it didn't feel long. I felt like I think it just felt like its runtime. I was like, yeah, it was a good
2 hours, 47
yeah.
movie. I mean, honestly, the thing is like, for stuff like that towards the end, I could tell that we were near the end. But, like, for a lot of the stuff in, like, the second act, I was like, I have no idea where I am, like, in this movie. Like, if I already hit pause, like, and I'd see the thing at the bottom, I'd be shocked. But, like, no matter where it is. So, I don't know. I'm hoping that it doesn't feel as long when I inevitably rewatch it, because I really liked it. One of my issues, though, aside from the fact that it felt really long to me, was, like, damn, bro. I wish they got more into the spice. I was talking to Isabel about this, but I was really hoping that, like, you know, they would actually give us, like, a trippy spice scene where we kind of see what it's like to be on spice. Because you only see, like, the aftermath of what it's like to be on spice. But, like, bro, you literally see him, like, drooling and sweating while he's on this. And I'm like, damn, I want to know what spice is like. I'm curious. Like, why is it unlocking all his ability to see visions? Because I think the jump from Paul being Paul to Paul being the Lisan al-Gaib who's able to, like, read people's minds, like, literally read people's minds. I think his performance is really gradual and it really sells it. But in terms of what I'm seeing, like, one scene, yeah, like, he's about to go crazy, and the next he is, but, like, that click there, like, especially when he drinks the water of life, like, I wanted to kind of see what he was going through to make that jump a bit more believable. And I feel like if we saw what it was like to be on spice, I'd get that more. But, yeah, I mean, I can't even think of, like, much else I didn't like about it. Maybe there's a little fluff here and there, like I said, with the runtime. But I feel like if I were to rewatch it, like, I would be able to, like, be more invested. Because on a first watch, everything is new and you don't know where you are in the movie. On rewatch, the benefit is you know where you are in the movie, so you get to pay attention more to why each scene is important on its own, rather than its significance in, like, the grand scale of the movie, because you don't know where it's going to go. And that tends to be true with most movies that I rewatch. But, yeah, I mean, yeah.
I loved it, you know. Just gonna get this out of the way, like, I'd give it 5 stars.
Damn.
Because it's literally like a continuation of Dune Part 1, you know? So, I obviously wouldn't want to give it lower. I feel like giving it 4.5, like, makes no sense to me. Like, nah, that was a 5-star movie. But I feel like a lot of the issues I had is what I had with Dune Part 1, where, like, I was kind of just confused. I was like, what is happening?
There were some scenes that I was like, what's going on? But, like, for the majority of it, like, while I was watching scenes, I was like, okay, no, I get what's going on. Actually, yeah, I can honestly probably count on, like, one hand the amount of scenes that I was confused during. But, like, that was mostly stuff to do with the Emperor and, like, Florence Pugh and stuff like that. But when it comes to, like, Timothy's journey and, like, him becoming the Lisan al-Gaib, like, bro, I know Fremen vocabulary after seeing that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the scenes that I think my favorite scene as of watching it for the first time, because it probably changed, but when Timothy first rode the worm,
that was so good.
That whole sequence was like actual 6-star cinema.
That was so
like,
good.
I got such huge chills, and I was like happy that they actually showed it entirely, because I was actually wondering, I was like, will they ever show like how they get on the worm? Because it seems like such an unrealistic, like, thing.
But it makes sense.
To jump. Yeah, when he does it, I'm like, oh, that's how they do it.
Yeah. Get on top of a big old dune. And
it looked so cool, and I could see, like, that real, like, thing they built to look like the worm, and all the holes and hairs. I don't know, it looked crazy. The whole black and white sequence, you know, with Austin Butler.
I was about to say, Fade Ralph's fight is, like, maybe my favorite scene in the whole movie.
He was good, except I feel like he didn't amount to as much as I thought he would in the end. Moist Critical said this in his review, and is that his death...
He dies pretty quick.
He dies honestly kind of suddenly and randomly over one move. And Paul Atreides, he got stabbed, you know, and I was like, oh, that's pretty bad. But then you hear a little, and then suddenly he's stabbed, and he's like, you fought well. And I was like, okay, well.
They really set him up to be, like, terrifying and, like a force.
He had a whole sequence dedicated to setting up how scary
that was. A long sequence as well.
Yeah, and I was like, well, this guy's definitely going to be... I thought he was, like, their Paul Atreides, like, in terms of skill and power. But, like, I don't know. I feel like just one fight for Paul Atreides to get tie his shoelaces together while he wasn't looking. Like, I don't know. Like, it felt a little disappointing.
I agree with that. Like, the way they set him up, I feel like he deserved to have more, but... Damn.
And it's a part 2 of 3. You know?
Yeah.
We're going to get Dune Messiah. And I didn't expect that. Well, I kind of knew. I knew that Dune Messiah was coming, but I thought that Dune Messiah was like a spin-off movie. I thought it was going to focus on something else. And after finishing Dune Part 2, I was like, okay, that actually is a direct continuation.
Yeah.
So it's a Dune trilogy. I'm going to rewatch Dune Part 2. And I'm expecting to like it even more because, like, it's honestly, like, the same as Part 1. It's, like, a continuation. But as of right now, I do prefer Part 1 a little more.
Honestly, I wouldn't be able to tell you which one I like more. I mean, like, I guess... Well, I'll get to there when I get there. But, I mean, for Dune 2, I can't say that I was disappointed at all. My expectations were certainly met. And I think it does literally everything that a sequel needs to do. In terms of the fact that, like, you go in and you see our characters who are already, like, we've already become accustomed to from the first movie. We see where they're at this movie. They have a little more skill. They're a little more, practice. They're not exactly who you knew at the end of the last movie. They're a little more than that, but, like, you see them and you're into it, and then there's more action. You meet more people. You go to more locations. You learn more about this world because there's so much more world building in this movie than there was in the first. Like, in the first movie, like, I thought that, like, Arrakis was so fleshed out just from the first movie alone, but that was literally just, like, the tip. Like, Now, Dune 2, like, there is so much more than I thought there was. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't know that the Fremen, like, I knew that they had, in the first movie, Duncan Idaho mentioned, like, their, whatever they're called, their little Seaths, I think that's what they're called. The second movie, you actually see them, and it's like, damn, this is not what I expected it to be. And, yeah, I mean, like, it does everything that a sequel needs to do. And more than that. I think the ending ended on a perfect note. Like, it ended, like, where you'd imagine a climax would be, but it just stops and then has one last scene with Chani, and it kind of focuses more on the characters there, how she feels betrayed by Paul. And, like, that's literally right after you see, like, a nuke go off, and you're like, damn, like half of me is like, I want to see what's going on with that, but, like, that's going to happen in part 3, and it's like, literally, the movie tells you how it's going to go from the prophecies, and they try to avoid it, and then it happens at the end. And people are saying, like, the Dune Star Wars, like, Star Wars copied Dune, because this book was written in 1965, and there's a bunch of things, like, directly taken over in Star Wars. That's common knowledge, but, like, it's honestly crazy how, because I love Star Wars, but it's literally crazy how much of, like, Star Wars stuff that I'm seeing here that still feel like this movie still feels like its own thing, and that, like, bro, I love just being on Arrakis, and, like, there's, like, certain notes, like, when things happen in the movie, I'm like, I feel like I've seen this before. Like, yeah, I have, because of Star Wars, but this movie's just doing it differently and better, and, like, I don't even know, arguably better, I guess. Like, bro, Paul being Baron Harkonnen's grandson?
Yeah,
Paul?
I mean, well, that's a part of the stuff that, like, I'm just confused about. Like, I need to just, like, I get it. Like, oh, no, he's his grandson, but, like, how?
How is he his grandson?
And, like, yeah, and, like, why?
Why is he his grandson?
Yeah.
Because he had sex with Lady Jessica's mom.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of that just seemed, like, Moist Critical, again, I'm bringing up Moist Critical because I liked this review because he said a lot of stuff I agreed with, but he said a lot of stuff just happens, you know? And I guess in part 3, it all makes sense, but to have the story cut off, the stuff that happens doesn't have like that. What you just said, that he's that person's grandson. What effect does that have?
Well, that's just kind of crazy because they're literally the ones who are like railing on Atreides. They're the ones that everyone hates. What I found kind of interesting was I thought that Paul was going to keep that a secret, but then he straight up just like when he's about to fight Feyd-Rautha, he's like, "You're my cousin," and everyone's like, "Oh, okay." So like Paul's a Harkonnen, that's fine. Like I feel like everyone will be like, "You're a Harkonnen, get out of here," you know what I'm saying? But like everyone's kind of chill with it. But like, I mean, I just think that's crazy because oh damn, he also killed the Baron.
Oh yeah,
I forgot about that, low key.
I remember that.
Baron died. Yeah, so who is he even gonna be fighting in the last movie? His army? The Emperor? It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, he's gonna fight the Emperor.
Christopher Walken. That's gonna be a treat.
One last thing I want to bring up. Interesting cameo from Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, she wasn't credited, but she was at the red carpet premiere.
But I knew she was in that because I saw a tweet that was like Anya Taylor-Joy's in Dune Part 2. And I didn't see it as a spoiler. I was like, oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. But then she just had a small cameo. Personally, that was not necessary. I mean, like, what do you expect me to say? Oh, it's this daughter. No, I'm going to go, oh, it's Anya Taylor-Joy from the movie I'm watching in IMAX.
Yeah,
in this fake world.
I think
it kind of took away.
Having actor cameos takes you out when you're watching, like, you know, when you're immersed in Arrakis. Because when I'm watching that movie, I'm not thinking of Timothée Chalamet and Rebecca Ferguson and Denis Villeneuve. So, I mean, when you have, like, a silent cameo like that. But what that does make me excited for is the fact that they got Anya Taylor-Joy out there shows that, what's her name? Princess Atria or something? I don't know. Paul's sister, she's going to have a role in the future.
That's the thing, yeah.
I know she's going to be important because of famous actors playing her.
She is going to be important, but honestly, I've always preferred actors I don't recognize.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely doesn't, like, you know, take you out, but I do like the fact that I definitely know, and I think she's a good casting choice as well, but I'm glad to know that she's going to play a big role later on, because that has me also very curious. Everything about this movie, like has me wanting to know what's going to happen next, you know? Like, that's not, like... Because you could say... everything about Across the Spider-Verse, you know, I wouldn't say everything in that movie has me wanting to know what happens next. The ending has me wanting to know what happens next, you know? But in Dune Part 2, obviously Spider-Verse is better. But in Dune Part... just different examples. But in Dune Part 2, every little thing that happens throughout the whole movie has me wanting to know what's going to happen in the third movie, because so many things are set up throughout the whole movie. You know, it's not just the ending, like it ends, you know, and now I want to know what's going to happen, like the next chronological thing. Like there's really so many questions that are brought up throughout that I'm like, damn, I want to know what happens next. Right, Jimmy?
So, yeah, you know, I remember you said you were going to read the book, like after, like, Messiah.
Yeah, after
I saw something about the book that made me be like, really? But it's that apparently like 80% of the book is just like Paul's inner monologue.
Oh, that's how David Lynch's Dune is as well.
Yeah, and that makes me not want to read that because really?
Yeah, in David Lynch's Dune, every single scene, like half of it is just a silent shot of someone's face and like inner monologue narration.
Yeah.
Like the Gom Jabbar, he's like, why does this lady want me to put my hand in this box? And then he says, what's in the box? It's like, bro, like...
Yeah, I don't know. It's super weird. What would you give Dune Part 2?
As of right now, and I honestly still haven't come up with a solid rating to give this movie because, like, I don't know, I'm not on that star rating thing anymore. I've ascended. I remember, like, I used to be all like, I know people give things star ratings, like, you know, they're stupid, just give it a rating, give it a star rating. And, like, or I also used to be all like, oh, why do people write short reviews? Nah, I've hit every step of the Letterboxd ladder. I started off rating everything and writing a full, proper review for stuff. Then I started writing one-liners, and now I'm at the top. I'm not doing no more star ratings. But for the sake of just saying something, for now, I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Damn.
But I'm just, like, I want to rewatch it. Because I didn't even, like, like everything I said, like I'm thinking about the movie and I'm like, oh damn, I'm loving it. You know what I'm saying? But I guess during the movie, like there were certain things that I was like, huh.
I'm gonna try and rewatch it with my parents because they haven't seen it.
So, before we end this episode, should we get into Denis Villeneuve news or should we just cut it off?
There was just one thing. There's some Denis Villeneuve news I want to talk about, and that was his next 5 movies. Did you know that?
5.
He said that he has 5 movies.
I know about 2 of them.
Let me see.
Wait, maybe 3.
Denis Villeneuve has 4 movies in the works right now. Next one obviously is Dune Messiah.
Yep.
My opinions on that, great.
Hype.
You know, hope it comes out soon though, because
I'm glad that he's not doing the James Cameron Avatar thing where now he's only making Dune movies.
Yeah.
Like, he's taking a spot in his career to make a trilogy and then he's going to go do other stuff.
yeah.
Christopher Nolan, he did the Dark Knight trilogy.
After that is Rendezvous with Rama.
Rendezvous? Is it with or to?
Huh?
Is it Rendezvous with Rama or Rendezvous to Rama?
Rendezvous with Rama.
Oh.
And that easily one of my most anticipated of all time. Because I know the basic premise is that this, you know, the human civilization tries to make contact with its alien civilization and, like, they have a place to meet. I don't know. Arrival, it's my 4th favorite movie of all time. And Denis Villeneuve, space, aliens, like, that is the combination I need. And I know that's going to come out in, like, 2030 something. But, man, like, I am so excited for that. Like, I know it's going to be good. Sounds incredible. After this, wait, which ones did you know he had?
Dune, Messiah, Rendezvous with Rama, and there's a 3rd one that if you say, I'll be like, oh, I know.
The 3rd one is Cleopatra.
He's doing Cleopatra?
Yeah, he's making a Cleopatra movie. Not sure what I think about that. Like,
man,
like, is it? I mean, I guess.
Okay, honestly, I'm all for, like, directors getting into, like, other genres and stuff, because, like, let them do what they want. I don't want them to stick to one thing. But, damn, I just love seeing Denis Villeneuve do sci-fi so much. Like,
yeah, I mean.
And also, like, we've seen the Cleopatra story before. Like, do we really gotta see it again? It's probably gonna be the best version there is, but, like, damn, do we gotta see it again?
Yeah, I'm not sure. But luckily, Rendezvous with Rama comes out before that, so that's all I'm happy about. And the last one's a secret project. He hasn't said. I wonder what that could be. It's going to be his 2001 A Space Odyssey remake. So, yeah, secret project, but, you know, always hype for Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah, I got faith in the guy. To quickly also add a little bit of news, Yorgos Lanthimos' Kinds of Kindness is coming out June 21st with Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, Willem Dafoe, Margaret Qualley, Hong Chow, Joe Alwyn, Mamadou Athie, and Hunter Schafer.
Oh, did he record that, like, milliseconds after Poor Things was done?
I don't know. I hope it's not rushed, though. But, like, I got faith in the guy. Maybe it'll be a more stripped down project. I don't think it's going to be as grand as Poor Things. That's for sure. Like, I feel like after making a movie like Poor Things, like, you don't want to, like, slow down. Also, there's a Teen Titans live action film officially in early development.
Nice.
It's going to be in James Gunn's new DCU.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Anyway, that just about wraps up this episode. We're running out of space on this SD card, so we're speeding through it right now. It's easily our longest episode yet. But if you made it this far, thank you for listening. And we hope you tune in to next week's episode where I'm not sure what we'll talk about, honestly. It just depends on what we watch. Some stuff.
All right. See you guys.
Oh, I'll be talking about End of Evangelion. There you go.
There you go.